Hello, everybody. WXVU Sports Director David Szczepanski coming to you live from a little bit of a different spot here in the WXVU studio. Figured I'll change things up, have some albums behind me, getting ready to record an episode of Villanova Sports Talk. But before I did, just wanted to talk a little bit about Villanova football, as it is your Villanova Football Midweek update. The Wildcats right now, of course, coming off a tough loss to Maine on Saturday, 35-7 in Maine. But the good news for the Wildcats is that even though they are now 2-1 in conference play, 5-2 overall, they have slid down from second place in the CAA to fourth place. Villanova now comes home for a homecoming weekend matchup against New Hampshire, also fellow Wildcats, what I was trying to say. So New Hampshire coming to Villanova Stadium this Saturday at 3:30 p.m. That's the big matchup. In terms of midweek updates, not a whole lot. Villanova, of course, did not have any team or individual awards this week after a pretty poor performance on Saturday, as I said earlier, against Maine. In terms of the polls, Villanova slid down to 13th in the Stats Perform poll and 14th in the AFCA poll. So Villanova, they were 5th in both the major FCS polls heading into the game against Maine. And now, as we get ready for New Hampshire and the other Wildcats coming into Villanova Stadium here in the main line, the Wildcats slid down 9 spots in one poll, 8 spots in the other. So 13th and 14th is the general consensus for Villanova in the FCS, but still in a pretty good spot for Villanova overall when you look at the rankings. But the Wildcats, when you look at the rest of their schedule on the way, right, they have this game against New Hampshire coming up. Then they're going to take on Hampton down in Virginia. Then they have North Carolina A&T. A win there should be for Villanova. And then 2 pretty tough games with 2 good offenses as Monmouth and Delaware to end the season. So Villanova, really most likely, they'll have to win out. If they don't win out in their final 5 games, they'll definitely have to win 4 of 5, most likely, having to beat Delaware to really earn back some credit to get into the FCS playoffs. But Villanova, the road is still right in front of them. They're still, 4th in the CAA behind Rhode Island, Delaware, and Richmond. Richmond just beat Delaware this past weekend in Virginia. And Rhode Island, you look at their schedule the rest of the way. They still have to play Monmouth, Delaware. They play Maine this upcoming week. So there are some tough games for Rhode Island. Their schedule so far has been pretty easy for them, so I don't know how much they're going to hold up. But, of course, we know Delaware and Richmond are the real deals. So Villanova going to have to play well this weekend. Good bounce-back opportunity at home against a New Hampshire team who, is pretty average offensively, maybe even slightly below average. They have a pretty good defense, but Villanova has to take advantage, and their defense really is going to have to step up, especially after some of the offensive struggles this past week. Defense probably going to have to try to make up for it against a pretty bad New Hampshire offense. But I'll break all of that down and much more later on this week here on my social media. I'll have my Villanova versus New Hampshire preview article, but also my preview video and keys to the game video later this weekend. And stay tuned for much more updates here again on WXVU, on my social media. And of course, we'll have live coverage for you on WXVU on Saturday for the homecoming game against New Hampshire beginning at 3 p.m. For the pregame show, the kickoff from Villanova Stadium for homecoming weekend is scheduled for 3:30 p.m. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. I'll talk to you soon with my preview as well as my keys to the game. And as always, go Cats!